Hi, we're going to continue today in our study in the book of Matthew, chapter 24. And I'm going to be reading verses 15 through 28, and then I'm going to share my comments with you all on that. Say hi, little Enoch. Say hi to everybody. Okay, let's get started. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor shall ever be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then, if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is the Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and there shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so also shall the, I got ahead of myself there, twisted the words around. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Very interesting passage of scripture here, talking about the Great Tribulation, which is a second half of the 7 years. This is the last 3.5 years of the tribulation that it's speaking of here. The first major sign signaling the Great Tribulation is the abomination of desolation, which likely will be fulfilled by the desolation of the Jewish temple by the Antichrist. Presently there is not a temple, but it's expected by a number of different scholars that there will be a temple erected, likely sometime during the beginning part of the tribulation period. Okay, now he, speaking of the Antichrist, will set up an image of himself in God's temple and declare himself to be God. And you can find that in Thessalonians. The time span between this event and the end of the tribulation is given 4 times in the Bible as 1260 days or 3.5 years. In one passage it says a times, and half a time, which would represent 3.5 years. Another sign the Great Tribulation has begun will be false prophets performing great signs and wonders. And already there's much deception going on, and some are even performing some so-called signs and wonders, but these will be on a much bigger scale. It'll be much more magnified than what's happening today. Even though we're getting there, the signs are definitely increasing all the time. The Antichrist will not be fully revealed in his true identity until the defiling of the temple takes place. Now, verse 15. In 167 BC, Antiochus Epiphanes defiling of the temple was a foreshadowing of the future defilement of the temple during the tribulation by the Antichrist. He ordered that an altar to Zeus, for an altar to Zeus to be constructed in the temple. He decreed that swine and other unclean animals be sacrificed there, and for the Sabbath to be profaned. Now, instead of offering a pig on the altar, the Antichrist will set up an image of himself, similar to what King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon did when he decreed that his people should worship the statue of his. Jesus here is clearly speaking of a future complete fulfillment of this prophecy. Some say that it's already been fulfilled. But again, Jesus here is talking about a future prophecy, so Antiochus could not have completely fulfilled it. I believe it is a partial fulfillment, but not complete. For again, Jesus is talking about something that's in the future. And, okay, that's it for verse 15. So that there is a future complete fulfillment of this prophecy, which will happen around the midpoint of the tribulation when the Antichrist sets up his abominations. Verse 16 through 20. The reference to the Sabbath day indicates that these events will take place in a Jewish area where the Sabbath is observed. Also, Judea is mentioned, which is in Israel. They are told to flee to the mountains, which is likely the same event that's described in Revelation chapter 12, verse 6. It talks about the woman, which is Israel, fleeing into the wilderness. Now, verses 21 through 22. The second half of the tribulation will be the worst time of suffering in Earth's history. And if the time was not limited to 3.5 years, then no one would survive. It's going to be a very terrible time to be alive. Hopefully none of us will have to experience that. Verses 23 to 28. The false signs and wonders will have the appearance as coming from God, but it will be the work of Satan. We must not confuse Christ's coming at the end of the tribulation with his unexpected coming at the rapture. They're two separate events. In a sense, you could look at the rapture as the first stage of his second coming. And we'll get more into detail of that later as we go along in the study. Christ's return in judgment will be visible and predictable. The vultures mentioned may represent the widespread death that will accompany Christ's return. And this is at the second coming, at the end of the tribulation. Now, all these events are surely going to happen. So, if you haven't already done so, please give your heart to Christ today, for the time is drawing near for all these things to take place. And also pray to be counted as worthy to escape the things to come. For again, these things are definitely coming. We just don't know exactly when all this is going to happen, but we can see signs already happening that are leading up to the tribulation period. It could still be a while off, but it could also be very near. Technology-wise, we're at a point we've never been before in history, and the technology is there for all these things that are prophesied to happen during the tribulation. We have the technology for it all to happen now. So we need to be walking close to the Lord and stay in love with others, encourage one another, and do your best to share the gospel of Christ with others as you have opportunity to do so. So may the Lord bless you and keep you, and we'll talk to you later.